1958 Fender Stratocaster, valued at about $150,000. I figure since it's old, I can get a deal. Hi Dan, I'm John, the organizer.
Hi John, I was looking for you.
Good to meet you.
Nice to Perfect.
Thanks for coming.
Looks like it's going to be a great show.
It's going to be a good show for sure. Lots of expensive stuff sitting around already, so we're all getting all geared up.
I'm like, I'm going to get distracted.
So I had been invited to go to NAMM, and then it fell through, and I was a little disappointed about that. But I decided to do some research to see if there were any musical events happening in and around Toronto, Canada. I just live north of Toronto. And I discovered the Elmira Vintage Guitar Show happening in April this year, 2023. It's an annual event. So I reached out to the organizer of the event, and he was more than happy for me to come and cover the show for this show. So I made the drive to Elmira to check it out. Now, I've never really played any significant vintage instruments, and I often wondered, are they really that special, or do players just get swept up in the whole mystique and the historical significance of, rare old instruments? So I'm going to share my thoughts about that towards the end of the video. So let's start off by taking the very condensed 1.5 hour drive up to Elmira to check out the show. Hey, Lisette.
Hey, Dan, Lonely Rocker.
That's me. How you enjoying the show?
It's fantastic. Best one we've had so far.
I love the shirts.
Thank you.
Hi Dan, thanks for coming to the Elmira Vintage Guitar Show today. We're really pleased to have the Lonely Rocker here. You can hear the sounds in the air of guitars being moved in. We're getting all geared up for a good show here today, so please feel free to look around and see what you can find. Thanks for coming.
I met some truly wonderful people at the Elmira Vintage Guitar Show, but there was one particular individual that left a really lasting impression on me. Now, as able-bodied guitar players, we often take our passion for granted. Now, what if that was suddenly taken away from us? Well, that was the unfortunate life turn for my first guest, but he's amassed an incredible collection of guitars over the years, and his passion drove him to the show to share his collection with everyone that attended.
Hi Dan, thanks very much for having me on the Lonely Rocker YouTube channel. My name's Chris, and I'm local here in Woolwich, Ontario, and I am an avid guitar aficionado. At least I love guitars, and I've amassed a bit of a collection over the years, and I thought I'd bring it for people to see here at the show today. And I might even entertain selling a few guitars now that I'm unable to play myself anymore. I can't really get the most enjoyment out of them. But I do love guitars still, even just to see them and appreciate them. And it's a great show with lots of guitars to go around and see. And I just thought I would help out and contribute a little bit on my own way. Some of the guitars I collect are primarily 1950s Gibsons. Gibson Les Paul Juniors, I have probably about 30 of them, and also some Les Paul Standards and a few Gretschens. I only brought a small number of the guitars here today because it's just too many to bring at one time. But I just thought I'd highlight a few of my guitars with some nice examples of the different finishes and the different years. Everyone has their own favorite guitar. I really do like the Les Paul Juniors, but some of the highlights that I brought today are probably a 1954 Les Paul Gold Top, and a 1955 Les Paul, which has the P90 and the Alnico pickup in it. Those are both pretty rare guitars, and they're both in beautiful shape, all original. They play very nicely, and they're probably the two guitars that'll get the most interest out of people here at the show today.
So I really want to thank Chris so much for allowing me to sample some of his awesome guitars from his collection. It really made a mark on me, and I'm going to remember that for a long time. So thank you. And I know you brought a lot of joy to a lot of people who attended the show that day. So thanks so much, Chris. Your passion is contagious. So a couple of observations from those awesome guitars from Chris's collection. I found myself looking at the neck on that 1959 Les Paul Special, that thick 59 neck with that massive heel joint on it. And it occurred to me that it had to be that way. You know, that was early days in the history of electric guitar building, and I assume for stability reasons, they designed it to be that way. And the next year, I know with the 1960 Les Paul, they introduced that thinner profile. I'm not really up on the history of all the necks, but you know, today we take it for granted with all the different neck profiles. But looking at that particular guitar, it just seemed to make sense that it had to be that thick. That 1954 Les Paul Gold Top certainly was a beauty, but I want to touch on the 1955 Les Paul Custom Fretless Wonder. Now, that Fretless Wonder literally had almost no frets, and I know it was designed to be that way to create a faster playing neck at the request, I assume, of some players at the time. But they didn't really take into account bending. That was kind of weird, but it felt super smooth to play, just playing chords and runs and things like that. And this weird sensation, I don't know, because the strings are so close to the fretboard, but sometimes it felt like I was playing a 12 string. I'm not really sure if I was feeling the edges of the fretboard, not really sure, but it was a very, very unique experience playing that Fretless Wonder. And the 1961 Les Paul, yes, that was a Les Paul. If you look at the history of Gibson, in 1961, Gibson decided to tweak the Gibson Les Paul formula a little bit and came up with what we know today as the SG, but in that first model year, it was known as a Les Paul. And Les Paul himself really didn't like the guitar. He thought it had some design flaws, and he kindly asked that his name be removed from the guitar. Ted McCarty, president of Gibson at the time, obliged him, and after that, it became known as the SG. Now, the SG is the most successful product line in Gibson's history, but if you have the legacy of someone like Les Paul, I guess missing on one or two probably doesn't matter that much. Elmira is a small town of about 12,000 people, but annually attracts a ton of people from all over to the guitar show. So why don't we jump into the excitement as they open the doors and see what the Elmira Vintage Guitar Show has to offer. Claiming to have the largest inventory of vintage instruments in Canada, Roman and Philippe of the Tone Brothers were on the cusp of launching their new business, and they brought an incredible collection of vintage instruments to the guitar show, and I got to play a bunch of them.
So this is my birth year.
First up, I got to play a guitar from my birth year. That's something that I've always wanted to do. This is a 1969 Les Paul Deluxe with Mini Humbuckers. Very cool guitar.
Dan from Lonely Rocker, hey? Thanks for stopping by. So yep, Tone Brothers launching in 6 days. I see you checked out some guitars, so I hope you had a good time. Honestly, this is an amazing turnout. Pleasure having you today. And I think just from the exposure we got today alone, just meeting all the different people, etc., has been amazing. And I hope you enjoyed the guitars today.
150 grand?
That's mine, yeah. Well, Canadian probably.
Canadian. Well, we deal in Canadian.
So personal collection's not for sale, huh?
Well, I mean, unless you want to give me something crazy, right?
One of the gems of the show, without a doubt, was a blonde 1958 Fender Stratocaster according to Roman, is valued at about $150,000. Now, I couldn't help but think about how expensive it was while I was playing it. I mean, how could you not?
This is my number one.
Your number one.
This one's cool for the collector value, but this is also very collectible. It's a blonde 61 neck tape, but everything else is 59, 60. So it's a 60 to 80 US.
60 to 80 US. Sell my car? Come call it. This is the one you grab when you want to play?
That's the one that goes ham in the studio for sure.
A real treat for me was playing a 1952 Les Paul. Now, 1952 was the first production year for the Les Paul, so it was a real treat to play a guitar with such a historical significance.
Stuff is personal selection. There's a couple things for sale. Most of that stuff is for sale. And so anything you see personal collection.
It's a 1952.
So I think you had a lot of nice pictures of us.
I think I did.
Yeah.
I think I did.
Great.
Yours is not so bad too.
Yeah, I think all the gear is talking by itself.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you guys are the star of the show, no doubt about it. Amazing collection. Enjoy the show.
You too.
Hey, thanks man, appreciate it.
All right, man.
Appreciate it, man.
And a cool story from the show was getting to hang with Greg Godovitz. He's the founding member of the Canadian rock band formed in the mid-1970s, known as Godo. Now, recent years, he's become an author, written a couple of books. He's got a third one on the way. And while I was there, a little bit of a reunion of sorts happened.
What if it's not the one and only Greg Godovitz?
Well, Dan the Lonely Rocker. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Nice to see you. What do you got here?
Have you bought one of these?
Look at that book. Well, a lot of people are going to hear about it, so why don't you hold it up?
This is my first book, Travels with My Amp. And then I also wrote the second book, which is called Up, much like you're feeling now, Up Close and Uncomfortable. And I'm working on my third book. And I'm here at this wonderful event, which I come to every year because I love being at guitar shows. Because I make enough money selling this, I'll end up buying a new guitar today.
Very nice.
Which is why I'm here.
So you guys go back to high school?
High school. I used to date his mother.
We didn't really know each other at the time. I was younger than Greg, but I knew about him. I love music, and as a kid coming into the high school, you immediately found out who Greg Godovitz was. And so I followed him all these years. When I found out he was going to be here, this is my first visit to this event. I thought I got to come and say hello and bring the old yearbook. So it's pretty cool.
So I guess this would be my third or fourth time in grade 11. I know I spent a couple of years at grade 9 as well. But if you look closely, nobody else in the school's got long hair except this punk there with not only long hair but sunglasses on for the school picture. So there was something brewing back then, I think.
Something in the water, huh?
And this is the pathetic remains of that guy right there. Don't get old, folks. Now I have wavy hair. It's waving goodbye.
And lastly, let's check out a little more gear from the show and some really nice people I got to meet that day.
Hey, there's the eager senior.
And there's the Lonely Rocker.
I'm Dan. Happy to be on the Lonely Rocker here at the Elmira Guitar Show. I'm one of the few people here who's probably not a business. I'm just a gear enthusiast who buys way too much stuff. Every year I come in here and I kind of unload some of the stuff that I'm not using as much. And it's always fun to come here and see what everybody else has and dream about the things that I can't afford to buy, because there's a lot of really cool vintage stuff here.
I've got a 1975 Gibson J55, which I believe is a custom order, as it's got handwritten foil on the inside and it had a hummingbird pickup. This one's a 62, this one's a 61. This is the deluxe model. This was actually on the Tommy Hunter show.
The Tommy Hunter show.
Yeah.
An era gone by, huh?
It's a handmade Bill Smith guitar from Dunville.
Dunville. I think I knew somebody from Dunville back in the day.
What up, Lonely Rocker?
How about you?
Am I a Lonely Rocker?
I'm the Lonely Rocker.
Oh, you're a Lonely Rocker. Nice to meet you. I'm a left-handed rocker.
Here's the guy here. He used to be with the Beatles band.
He used to be with the Beatles band.
The only problem is I got all these guitars, but I don't know how to play them.
This one here is a C100 Gibson. This is a real shop. It's got an electric bar. You can play it electric, or you can play it as an acoustic.
What do you got going on here?
Tubes and more tubes.
How big's your inventory?
Oh, probably about 20,000 tubes.
Holy shit. John, think fast. There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank
I'll
you,
wear
Mike.
it with pride.
Thank you for having me. I've had such an awesome time.
We're glad to have you here. We'll look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
So what an awesome time I did have at the Elmira Vintage Guitar Show. But the question remains, are vintage instruments any more special than modern production guitars? Well, here's the thing. Some of those guitars were extremely well maintained, well set up, and they were a joy to play. I actually smelled the guitars. You can just smell the history on some of them. And there's definitely something there without a doubt. Now, with any instrument, like I said, as long as it's set up properly. I mean, that 1952 Les Paul, for example, I mean, the historical significance with that guitar is just amazing. Is it a guitar that I'd want to play today all the time? Well, actually, no. I mean, that guitar, it was perfected over the years. That was the first model of the year, and they worked out some bugs. It was a joy to play it just because of the historical significance, but it didn't play anything special to me. But that 1958 Fender Strat, without a doubt, was a beautiful, beautiful instrument. Really, really enjoyed that. The 55 Custom was interesting, that fretless wonder. I'd never played anything like that before, so it was just amazing to feel something that different. You know, the idea behind it and, wanting to develop a neck that would cater to faster players. That's something that they perfected over the years. So it was really fun to experience that and to feel that. But in some cases, some of those instruments played really, really well. And like I said, the years and years of love that, that they've had, plus they've been well maintained, I think all work together in creating a very special instrument. Obviously, plugging them in, I'd probably get an additional feeling, so that's not something I can comment on right now. But I definitely felt something playing some of those instruments without a doubt. But some of them just honestly just weren't for me, right? I mean, I'm pretty particular when I buy any of my instruments, but some of them were truly special, and I think there was something there. Anyways, I want to thank John Woods so much, plus everyone who was involved at the show, but John especially for inviting me and allowing me to take part. It was a lot of fun. I certainly look forward to doing it again, perhaps next year. I'm going to leave information in the description about the show. Check out their website and keep in touch with them. And if you happen to be in the Toronto area sometime next year when they have a show, I definitely highly recommend you check it out. It was a lot of fun. So thanks a lot to John Woods. I really appreciate that. But if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you want to support this channel, there's a lot of ways you can do that. I have affiliate links, I've got merch, I'm on Patreon. It's all in the description. It all goes a long way to supporting this channel, help me make more content like this, and I really appreciate that. But the easiest way to support this channel is to check out another video, and I've got one waiting for you right here. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. And I look forward to seeing you again in another video.